Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Grim Scenarios. I'm your host, Milk, along with my co-host, Emma. Hello, Emma.
Milk, how's it going? How's your definitely Wednesday going?
Yeah, my Definitely Wednesday is going pretty well. Nice and relaxing. Holiday weekend type vibes, as it were. How about you?
Yeah. Uh, this Wednesday is going great for me, or it's going miserably. I can't tell you. It's a secret.
We'll know in a few days. What's going on with you? Anything interesting happening with you this weekend? Anything interesting you're looking forward to? Any games you've played or anything you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm either very happy because the Celtics won on Monday, or very sad because, as I predicted, the Heat won. I don't know really which it is, but I'm sure I do know because it is Wednesday after all.
Indeed.
This happened Monday, of course.
Of course, and I'm very excited because we had a very successful Tuesday night stream last night where we had lots of fun playing some really, really great scripts. That's definitely what happened last night, which was Tuesday night, because today is, of course, Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with the choices you and Samantha made in Game 2, and also the choices you and Sabanite made in Game 1, which were, of course, all choices I've already witnessed and thought about.
That's right. We've all both seen and watched and story told and played in those games at this point, because it is, in fact, Wednesday.
That is certainly the day it is, Milk. Anyway, we're going to launch off into episode 2 of Grim Scenarios now. We are still tinkering with the format. I know last week we said we were going to jump straight to Sex and Violence. That was a lie. We're actually sticking on Trouble Brewing, and we're going to do 2 good character perspectives this week. And then after that, we're going to move on to Sex Violence and then do each episode 1 evil, 1 good. But because we didn't think about this through or plan in advance, we're still doing 2 goods and 2 evils for Trouble Brewing. We're just doing them all evil, all good, and then we'll move on to another script. So total lies we told you last week. This week, I promise you, I'm probably telling the truth.
Here's the thing, there's plenty to talk about on Trouble Brewing anyway. We'll probably return to Trouble Brewing from time to time because it's the most common script, it's the script most people know, and we can, I think, demonstrate a lot of elements of the game just using Trouble Brewing, because there's some basic components, there's some basic roles, there's some basic types of abilities that appear across all of the scripts that are easiest to understand or talk about or strategize with in Trouble Brewing, partly because everybody knows them, and partly also because they're sort of the simplest form of those abilities.
Yeah. And we do want to show you good. We don't just want to talk about playing evil, we also want to talk about the tricky situations you can find yourself in when playing good. So we are going to do, moving forward, again, our plan is probably to do 1 evil, 1 good a week. This week we're doing 2 goods because last week we did 2 evils. We wanted to thank everyone who supported it and watched this. We got over 1,000 views on YouTube. We got a couple hundred views on Twitch. I don't know the numbers we got on the podcast apps, but I know Milk does. I think we got a couple hundred there.
Yep. Yeah, we had. I didn't check for the last 2 days, but we had about 150, I think, the last time I looked.
Yeah. So for a debut episode of a podcast, getting 1,500 combined views and listens across all the platforms we released on, pretty exciting for me. Pretty exciting for Milk.
Very exciting for me.
We got a lot of positive feedbacks in the comment sections, and we're trying to take that all into account. But first things first. Let's go to the Grim.
All
right, Milk. So this is Final 3 on Trouble Brewing. You are set on Seat 9.
Seat 9. All right, I'm Seat 9. And what's my role?
You are the Slayer. So what I'm going to just go through is I'm going to go through the order of the Night Deaths, and then when we go through the Night Deaths, we'll talk a little bit about what each character is claiming and what your interactions with them have been.
All right.
So we're going to start with Seat 6, who is your first execution. Seat 6 claims to be the chef.
6 claims to be the chef.
And they claim to have gotten a 1.
All right. And they claim to have gotten a 1. So the chef with a 1 was executed. Did they offer themselves up as an execution?
They didn't offer themselves up. They were a little bit resisting. They complained a little bit about killing day 1 rolls, but their pleas were not heard by town. Okay. Night 2, Seat 3 was killed. Seat 3 has claimed to be the librarian, and this is particularly of interest to you, because Seat 3 told you that either you or Seat 12 was drunk.
Interesting.
Okay. Next, we're going to move to our second execution of the game, which is Seat 7. Seat 7 has claimed to be the recluse.
Alright, Seat 7 is the recluse.
And they were executed because of a claimed empath 1 coming from Seat 8.
Seat 8 is the empath with a 1 on the recluse. Okay, got it.
So then we'll move on to the Night Death on day 3. That was Seat 2, your Ravenkeeper. You had a sketchy conversation with the Ravenkeeper, in part because they claimed Slayer before they died.
Interesting.
After they died, they claimed Ravenkeeper, and they claimed to see Saint 4 as the Saint.
Seat 4 is the Saint. Ravenkeeper saw Seat 4 as the Saint. Alright.
The next day, you executed Seat 1. Seat 1 is claiming to be the Monk. They did not get a successful protection off while they were alive.
Dead
You haven't talked to Seat
Monk.
1 much this game. They've been avoiding you think.
Alright.
Let me just look through my notes. Seat 12 died on night 4. They were the fortune teller. This is the information they've reported. And you trust them, but because of that librarian drunk tipping, you don't know how you feel about their information. But
Got it.
here it is. They got a no on seats 11 and 1, a yes on seats 10 and 2, and a no on seats 4 and 9.
Alright.
Okay. After the fortune teller died in the night, you all executed Seat 8, that empath claim. Seat 8 claimed to get a 1, of course, on you and the recluse, and then a 0 on you and Seat 5 before they were killed.
A 0 on me in Seat 5. Alright.
See, there's our dead empath in Seat
8.
And then we have to do the Night Death for Night 5. That was Seat 5, who was cleared, of course, by your empath. Seat 5 is after their death. They didn't say this at all before, but after their death, they have hard claimed Undertaker. They have said they saw the drunk on the chef.
The chef was seen as the drunk.
They say they saw the poisoner on... Sorry.
The librarian.
recluse.
The recluse, yeah.
Yes. And then they said they saw the poisoner again on the monk. Then they were
Poisoner
killed.
again on the monk. Alright.
Finally, the washerwoman in Seat 11 was killed in the night. The washerwoman claims to have seen a soldier between Seat 10 and Seat 5. You took your Slayer shot several days ago. You took it on day 2. You shot Seat 4 because you thought something was off about your conversation. They're the Saint claim, confirmed by the Ravenkeeper. So there's our final 3. You, Seat 10, Seat 4. The Slayer, the Soldier, the Saint.
Wild. This isn't even that uncommon of a scenario.
No. So, what are you thinking? Let's start. We're gonna eventually ask you to make a nomination.
Sure.
We're not gonna simulate a vote because who knows if all these crazy people are voting. But we are gonna try to get your thoughts and then ask you for who you nominate and who you think is the evil team.
Okay, let's start in. Let's start in the most obvious position here. There are 3 outsiders that are being pointed to on this Grim. There is a recluse in Seat 7. There is a saint in Seat 4, and there's a librarian in Seat 3 who is claiming to have seen a drunk between me in Seat 9 and the fortune teller in Seat 12. So.
And why is 3 a strange number?
3 is a strange number on a 12-player Grimoire because in a 12-player Grimoire you should have 2 base outsiders and then you would only add outsiders in Trouble Brewing if there's a Baron, which would add 2 outsiders. If there were a Butler, a Saint, and a Recluse claim, then we might have a Baron in the game, because there could be a drunk that's hidden. The librarian, may see them and then say, hey, there's a drunk out there. But in this case, we don't have a Butler claim anywhere. There's no reason for a Butler to hide their claim at this point in the game in Final 3, so there's no Butler, which means one of Seat 3, Seat 4, and Seat 7 is lying.
Which one do you think is lying?
Currently, I'm tempted to think that it's Seat 4, the Saint claim, that is lying. The librarian seeing a drunk between me and the fortune teller makes some sense. If my shot didn't kill the Saint claim, it's possible that I was the drunk in that. But I think you said that the fortune teller had a no between me and Seat 4. So that's kind of interesting.
Seat 2, you're also somewhat suspicious of, is insisting that the Raven Keeper who saw Seat 4 is the Saint.
Now, that's true. On the other hand, you told me that I took my shot very early in the game on the Saint.
You did. You took it day 2.
So there's definitely a possibility here that Seat 2, who I'm suspicious of, who had a fortune teller yes on them, who died in the night, was an imp who star passed to a Scarlet Woman, or star passed to didn't have to star pass to a Scarlet Woman, just star passed to a minion in Seat 4, who had already been Slayer shot and was likely not to have been looks like they're not the demon, basically because of fortune teller information or because of whatever. That puts us in a weird situation with the fortune teller information, where the fortune teller has a yes on someone that I think might have been the demon who star passed. But certainly a Raven Keeper claim that died in the night that then claimed to have seen the Saint on someone that I think is pretty sketchy is an interesting proposition.
Yeah. Now, of course, the fortune teller also got that yes on Seat 10, who's still alive.
Correct. And that's obviously problematic, because Seat 10 could just be the imp. There's almost no way for me to make a judgment about that in the current situation. We never got empath info on it. Who was the washerwoman clearing?
They're saying they saw a soldier between Seat 10 and Seat 5, and Seat 10 is claiming soldier. The washerwoman in Seat 11 is just as vociferous as the Raven Keeper on Seat 2, that their guy is not the demon.
Right. So we've basically got two possible pairs of star passes here. The washerwoman to the soldier, and the Raven Keeper to the Saint. Neither of those has to be a star pass, of course.
Do you consider all the possibility that Seat 10, the imp, killed Seat 11, their minion?
It's a possibility.
Good.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, they certainly can't. So, in Final 4, with 4 alive, the imp maybe would rather kill a minion than kill a good player that looks pretty confirmed. In this case, I think they'd want to kill me and frame the minion, though. I don't know why I would still be left alive here as a Slayer that shot Seat 4. That's a bit interesting. Let's talk about the Undertaker's reads, because I'm interested in that. The Undertaker here has seen the chef as the drunk. That puts the Undertaker at odds with the Librarian, because the Librarian is either the drunk or has a drunk between myself and the fortune teller.
Yes.
The Undertaker then sees a poisoner twice. Once on the Recluse, which could be the storyteller signaling to the Undertaker that there is a poisoner in the game that could be impacting information if the evil team seems to be doing well. But certainly you could just show a poisoner on a Recluse, so there's nothing to really gain or draw from that. Then seeing a poisoner on the monk is very interesting. I suppose the monk claim could have been the poisoner, was executed here mid-game, which suggests later game information might have been good. The empath's information seems correct, so I think we probably believe the empath that the Undertaker is good, especially since the empath, especially because the Undertaker was killed after the empath cleared them. So I think the empath and the Undertaker are probably both good here. I don't think the chef is drunk with a 1, which points more towards washerwoman and soldier as an evil pair than Ravenkeeper's saint. But if the monk is the poisoner, monk Ravenkeeper can be an evil pair with the saint left over as the third evil who's not in the chef number, and again a really good way to escape. Also, I have to have this continued suspicion about where the extra outsider is, right? We've still got this one extra outsider, so that's a problem I have to resolve.
Yeah. Um, what are you looking for when you try to decide who you're going to vote on between seat 10 and seat 4? Obviously, you're not going to vote on yourself because
I
you're
know,
not.
I know, I'm good, and as a good player, it's really, really, really important to remember you shouldn't vote on yourself in Final 3. That is not a good way to get rid of suspicion from yourself. You will just fucking look suspicious. Ooh, I shouldn't have cursed. That was bad. Bleep that out later, I guess. Oh well.
Yeah, no worries.
You will just look really suspicious if you vote yourself in Final 3. You'll look like a minion. Don't vote yourself in Final 3 ever. You can't win that way. You can't win by voting on yourself as good in Final 3. So maybe just don't do that.
So we've sort of talked about the claims and the mechanical information. What else are you sort of looking for as you make this decision?
The social read is really important here. This would probably, in a real situation, be mostly off of social reads. I've got the seat 1 claim, not talking much, kind of being quiet, kind of being shifty. If this is a newer player, potentially that's a new player who's not really sure what to do with being an evil player. I've got the sketchy Ravenkeeper in seat 2 with a fortune teller yes on them, which is pretty interesting information. Yeah, that's also on seat 10, but it is what it is. So I mean, there's a lot of socials that are suggesting that seat 1 and seat 2 are evil. You said I had a bad read off of seat 4, so again,
that's why you shot them.
Yeah, I mean, and you can shoot a saint claim as the Slayer, like mechanically, like it's not bad to shoot a saint claim if you really have nothing else, because worst comes to worst, at least maybe they're not the starting demon, Here with the drunk ping on me especially, that makes it a lot trickier to parse. I'm pretty suspicious of the saint here. The only other place to be suspicious would be the librarian, who could be a poisoner showing a drunk or something like that. Like, could be an evil showing a drunk. But
the
again,
librarian was the first night kill though, so
yeah. So
that
really
doesn't. Think the first night kill's likely to be the poison?
I mean, that would literally just be the demon, who's just star passes right out of the gate. So I just don't think that's likely. It seems like the librarian is probably legit and either is drunk or I'm drunk, and that the chef 1, if it's correct, which I think it is, because again, I think I know where the real drunk is. If the chef 1 is correct, then it's probably between the monk and the Ravenkeeper as the starting imp, and the poisoner. The Undertaker got a good read off of the poisoner after they were killed. There's a lot of socials here that suggest it's those 3 players, 1, 2, and 4, the monk, the Ravenkeeper, and the saint. So, I mean, as I'm making a decision here, I'm really looking for information that suggests to me to look anywhere else, like to look at the soldier as a potential kill. All I've got is one night of fortune teller information. They've got a washerwoman confirmation. Sometimes washerwoman is real, They could be the spy who caught a washerwoman ping. Like, there's a lot of possibilities there. In these worlds, so we talked a little bit about last time how trouble brewing, and we kind of made a joke about it, I think. Trouble brewing isn't solvable all the time. You're not always going to have the mechanical information to objectively solve the game. And it's going to come down to either a combination of social reads and what information you have, or it's going to come down to what you think you can convince town of. What the most likely world seems. Lost a game this week where the 10% small possible world just happened to be the right one, and everybody knew it was a possible world. It seemed less likely, and so everybody in town voted for the world that seemed more likely, which was unfortunately incorrect.
So let's talk a little bit about the social reads we might be to get. So seat 5, your Undertaker, is sort of withdrawn. They think they're the drunk, even though they saw the chef as the drunk and the librarian puts the drunk elsewhere. The Undertaker says, my information makes no sense. I must be the drunk. Are you at all they're sort of withdrawn from the game. They're upset about being the drunk.
I mean, I think we need to encourage them that they're probably not the drunk, right? We've got a librarian who's seen a drunk elsewhere. I suppose the librarian could have been poisoned and the Undertaker can be the drunk, but again, we have to start eliminating, like, we're only going to get about 4 minutes for this final day, 4 or 5 minutes for this final day to really discuss. We have to start eliminating the worlds that don't help us solve the game. A world that doesn't help us solve the game is the Undertaker being the drunk, because it's too far back for us to backtrack information. If the librarian was poisoned and the Undertaker is drunk, then, rough day for us. Bad day. The poisoner did their job. They made it look like the Undertaker wasn't drunk. I think what's more likely is the poisoner hit the Undertaker on night 1, and then stuck on the Undertaker night 2, and then we killed the poisoner with our third execution, and the Undertaker saw them.
And let's keep going through. Seat 6, your chef, is trying to place their chef 1, and they don't want to place it on the Raven Keeper. They think the Raven Keeper's good. So they're looking for their chef 1. And they say, I don't see it.
I mean, the only other place for their chef 1 is the washerwoman and the soldier. I guess it could be me and the soldier if they really think that there's some reason for that, but I know it's not me, so we're just not going to entertain that world for this conversation. I mean, you have to help people find where their information is going to work. Putting it between the monk and the Raven Keeper is the place that makes the most sense, and it might be wrong, but they need to look at the recluse and go, okay, well, it's probably not either of the recluse's neighbors, right? They should know it's not them, and I think the empath is pretty trustworthy here. It seems to be well trusted. So I mean, they've really either got it between the monk and the Raven Keeper, or the washerwoman and the soldier, and they should vote based on that. I would encourage them to vote based on the world that I think is right, but again, they're gonna make their vote based on which piece of information they think is right.
Seat 8 and Seat 7 have been bickering all game.
Of course they have.
Seat 8 does not believe the recluse claim. They think Seat 7 was in fact the poisoner. And they're encouraging the Undertaker to think they're the drunk.
Yeah.
Seat 7 says, I am the recluse. I don't know why you don't believe your information.
I mean, this happens in games sometimes. Players don't believe their information. The empath's info seems good outside of this recluse. And something I often like to say when we get late in games is, hey, it doesn't really matter if Seat 7 or Seat 1 is the poisoner unless it helps us solve the game. Seat 7 being the poisoner doesn't help us solve the game, right? It doesn't give us information that aligns with the chef number. It doesn't give us information that helps very much.
And Seat 8 says, I think it does help us solve the game because Seat 7 is the poisoner and the chef 1 is Seat 10 and 11.
All right. I mean, that's a world that you can believe, But ultimately, that a recluse claim in a game with 3 outsiders, maybe that's the evil, maybe the saint is the good one. This isn't a mechanically solvable game. If that's what the empath thinks, then they should vote off their information, though.
Oh, they say they're going to.
Yeah, of course they are, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing I can. There's nothing I can do to. There's nothing I can do to dissuade that.
What do you think of their vehemence that Seat 10 must be the demon?
I don't know. Maybe they got a bad social read. Maybe those 2 players have had a conversation that just didn't work. For me, yes, Seat 7, Seat 10, and Seat 11 works as an evil team. Seat 1, Seat 2, and Seat 4 works as an evil team. I have my social reads, which you told me.
Yeah.
They have theirs. It's sometimes gonna come down to that, and trying to convince someone. Ultimately, in a social deduction game, sometimes you have to look and say, hey, I can't necessarily convince this person of what I think. This is a game. We're playing the game for fun. Like, this is a strategy podcast about how to do better at the game. But part of doing better at the game is letting people make mistakes. If they're convinced, if they're committed to this line of action, this course that they think Seat 10 is the demon, and we don't agree with them, then so be it. They're going to make their mistake, or maybe I'm making the mistake.
So it sounds like you've made your choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, just looking at the information, Seat 10 is certainly a viable demon candidate, right? The mechanical information allows for that to happen. But for me, with the social reads that you've given me, with the information that I think is right, I can easily be the drunk who shot the demon, who is being confirmed by a star pass. I guess it could be the Slayer who shot him. This fortune teller information is really weird. The fortune teller information really makes it look like it's seat 10.
Mm-hmm.
Have to find the drunk. So, if the librarian is just the drunk, seat 4 is still... could be the saint. The recluse
Seat
could
8's
be...
world, right? Librarian's the drunk. Recluse is the...
It's a viable world.
But
Yeah.
in that world, yeah. That's the world. Librarian's the drunk.
Yep.
Recluse is evil.
Saint
10,
is
11
good.
are evil together.
Yep.
That is a world you have to consider.
It's a world I have to consider. But again, we have the luxury here on our podcast of taking 20 minutes to talk through this. In the real world, it's 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm going to use my social reads to make that decision. I'm going to use my information. The fortune teller getting a yes on seat 10. A soldier makes a really convincing red herring. So I think this is what it comes down to for me. I think the Ravenkeeper can either be... so let me run through it this way. If I shot seat 4 either wasn't the demon at the time, or I'm the drunk. I've been seen as the drunk by the librarian. The Night 3 death of the Ravenkeeper in seat 2, who had a fortune teller yes on them, can be a star pass to seat 4, or can be poison. No, not on night. Yes, on night 3 can be poisoned still. The Undertaker gets a read. Yeah, there's just more info here, plus my social reads, to make it seem like the Saint is the evil one.
Okay. So is that your final choice?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna nominate the Saint here. I might have this backwards. The soldier makes a very convincing red herring for the fortune teller to hit. I can be the drunk who shot an imp. There's just more. It's 60-40, 65-35. There's just more information here that suggests to me that the Saint in seat 4 is the evil one, and I might have gotten it wrong, but
All right,
I'll nominate seat 4.
You nominate seat 4, and we'll pretend seat 4 was executed. Let's go to the Grim. All right, let's start, of course, with you. You are the sober and healthy Slayer.
Interesting.
Your shot on seat 4 did not kill them, because they were not the imp. Seat 3, your librarian, was in fact the drunk. Classic drunk librarian, getting
Easy.
things on 2 sober players, you and the fortune teller. Let's go over to seat 6. The chef, with a real 1. Maybe. Will stop by seat 1, who you correctly sussed out was the poisoner. That double poisoner information on the Undertaker smells very much like seat 1's the poisoner.
Looks like seat 1's the poisoner.
So you got that right. Seat 1 was the poisoner. That's why they were scared of you. They were afraid of your C- social reads.
C- social reads, everybody.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
It's a joke.
Milk is a very good social reader. It's a joke from someone said about Milk. No, that was your mechanical skill. Sorry.
I'm C- mechanical, B+ social.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go over to your Undertaker. You correctly sussed out was just getting weird information because they were poisoned when they saw the chef. Registering off seat 7, the Recluse, when they saw the poisoner and then saw the actual poisoner. The poisoner didn't in fact stand the Undertaker. They moved off to poison kill the Ravenkeeper. They poison killed the Ravenkeeper, allowing the Ravenkeeper to see true information on seat 4 or false information. Seat 11 is your washerwoman. who was sober and healthy when they saw seat 10 as the soldier. Because seat 4 was the starting Scarlet Woman. The one thing you missed? That empath who was super confident that the demon was seat 10? They were no empath. Empaths aren't real, Milk. They were the starting
Empaths
imp.
aren't real.
They were the starting imp who was trying to get you onto their world. They were trying to get you onto the world that they wanted, which was you to not execute their Scarlet Woman.
That's not bad. I mean, that's pretty close. Sometimes it's okay to get it pretty close too.
You got it very close, and you got the demon. There was subtle hints that seat 8 was up to something no good when they kept trying to knock you off your world, but
Yeah, I mean, but people will do that. Like, people will get stuck on a world and they won't want to change. And maybe in real life, like with a real person, I would have had a social read that was more suspicious. You were pushing on it a little bit, but that can just be a stubborn player or a player who just really thinks that their information is the right one.
Yeah, your hints on the starting imp situation was, of course, the chef one from seat 6.
Yeah. I should have seen the imp recluse. That was
with
definitely
the Scarlet
missed.
Woman in play. The storyteller was cheeky and registered the recluse and the imp as a chef there.
That's a pretty good registration on the recluse there. Yeah, still pretty good. I mean, the Ravenkeeper did look sketchy. Ravenkeepers often look sketchy. Where was the red herring? Was it on the Ravenkeeper?
Red herring was the soldier.
It was the soldier. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So,
good.
But it could have been the Ravenkeeper.
Hey, that wasn't too bad. Actually, I did all right there.
Yeah. Fortune teller red herrings are very tough, and sometimes they end up on a player who just is irrelevant to the game, which is really unfortunate for the evil team.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the player who gets executed day 1. Maybe it's the player the demon kills in the night first. At this time, the storyteller did decide to put it on the soldier, which was, an attempt to create a durable red herring.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, that means that the red herring is going to last for a while unless town kind of gets aggressive on pushing on them, or if they get in a double claim or something. This is a cool Grim. This was a really, really interesting Grim for me. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you all learned something.
Yeah, one of the things here is I often tell players don't deduct your information. In this case, your information was, of course, that seat 4 wasn't the demon because you shot them with a Slayer shot.
Yeah.
But you had so many reasons to doubt your information here.
Yeah, and that's public information. Also, my Slayer shot is public information. I can't hide that.
It's the drunk ping. It was early, which gives the evil team plenty of team time on Trouble Brewing to move the imp to a Slayer shot player. Like, something we talked a little bit about last week, which I think listening back on the podcast, I didn't explain myself super well, is when a player Slayer shot and survives, and the demon doesn't kill them, something's weird about that. And in this case, you shot the Saint, and despite that, the evil team was never interested in killing the Saint.
Yeah, that's odd, right?
Which is odd. It's a very odd thing. Why is this confirmed not demon not dying in the night?
Precisely.
It's probably because they're evil.
Yeah, or something's up with that for sure. Let's talk about.
It's possible.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's possible the imp just wanted the Saint win condition to stick around, but it's more possible that they're just evil.
Something we said last week that I thought was very interesting was people don't want to kill Saints. People are very hesitant to kill Saints, and evil teams leave Saints alive late game quite often, even though the win condition no longer necessarily has value. Here, it looks pretty suspicious that the Slayer shot Saint is still alive.
And you saw through that. There was no star pass, of course, because with the Scarlet Woman, you don't need to star pass as evil. You can let yourself get executed, which is what the empath imp did here.
Yep, and that's really important to remember. The imp's ability is really powerful. And one of the ways it is powerful is it creates uncertainty about players who die at night, right? It makes those players look less trustworthy. It makes their information look less trustworthy, and so that's an extremely powerful part of the imp's ability.
Yeah, and here it happened to backfire on the evil team a little bit because the fortune teller hit the Ravenkeeper the same way as they hit the red herring.
Yeah.
The Ravenkeeper, the demon, yes. The poison killing the Ravenkeeper. Even though the Ravenkeeper got the poison information confirming the Scarlet Woman exactly like the evil team was probably hoping for.
Yep. Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to talk about Slayer for a second, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Slayer.
I want to know where you stand, Emma, on abilities like Slayer. Slayer's a great example from Trouble Brewing, but there's other examples of kind of once per game abilities that run throughout Blood on the Clocktower. Where do you stand on holding or using abilities. Because obviously, if I still had my Slayer shot here at the end of the game and had held on to it, right, it's so powerful in this situation. Shoot one, kill the other one if they don't die, you know?
Yeah, no. Once per game abilities are a bit of a game of chicken. Like, the longer you're alive with the once per game ability, the more powerful it is. Like, a seamstress who's alive on Final 3, like, they can, if they haven't used their ability yet, they wake up that night, they use their ability, they check one of the other living players, and they learn if they're good or evil, basically.
Yep. It's pretty strong.
It's incredibly strong. A artist who holds their question to Final 3, they just go to the story and say, hey, is C10 the demon? Storyteller says no. Artist comes back and says, let's kill C4. C10's not the demon. The storyteller just told me that.
Yep.
Slayer as well, like you said. If you still had your shot, you could shoot one of these people. In this scenario, I didn't want you to still have your shot because I wanted the shot to be partially clearing the Scarlet Woman.
Yeah.
And also because most players chicken out of holding their once per games till the very end. People think it looks suspicious. Like sometimes with a Slayer, sometimes even when people trust a Slayer, they'll nominate and put the Slayer in the block to bully them into using their shot.
To try to force the shot, yeah. Evil will do that too.
Good and evil will do that. They want the shot used. Because it helps them with their world building and helps them try to figure out what they want to do.
Also, if there's a late game poisoner who's still around, right, there's possibilities for how that could impact your ability to use your Slayer shot or your once per game ability as well. I'm very much of a mid game once per game ability kind of user. If I don't use my Slayer shot on the first 2 days and I get killed, you know, it's a bummer, but it's not really the end of the world. It's a piece of information we could have had that we didn't, and I got greedy and tried to hold it. But, you know, around day 3, boy, that Slayer shot is so strong. Like, wow, you've got, you know, you're down to 6 or 7 players, and I mean, you might just hit the demon. Like 1 out of 6 is pretty good, you know, and you probably have 1 or 2 people you trust, so it might be 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5.
There's a text server where Milk and I play some text games because we're Clocktower nerds, where I'm part of the co-ed storytelling group for the teensies, and we played a teensy bit with a Slayer and a psychopath. So the psychopath kills someone day 1, and on a teensy that means from the Slayer's perspective, there's only 3 demon candidates because they're not the demon. The person the psychopath killed isn't the demon, and the psychopath's not the demon.
That's right.
Like, if you can get even in that situation where you can eliminate half the Grim as a demon candidate, your Slayer shot is incredibly powerful. Slayer in that game shot the person they thought was most suspicious of those other 3 on day 1. It was the demon. The evil team lost.
Game's over. Yeah. And even if you don't hit the demon, now you're on a 50-50 in a 6 player game. You're probably going to kill one of those 2 people next. So
exactly. But like, you know, so like the because these powers get exponentially powerful, I don't advocate using most nightly any of them day 1. The one exception I'll do is Seamstress. Seamstress I'll frequently make my check night 1 when I wake up.
Something we should talk about actually on S&V is where Seamstress lives, is that you might want to hold it because there might be twins, and Seamstress really, really, really solves for twins very, very well. So
that's true. In the S&V, it's very useful to hold it for a day to see if there's twins.
But we'll talk about that when we get to S&V.
Yeah, with Artist, Fisherman, Slayer, which are the other very powerful once per games, I tend to try to hold those for at least 2 or 3 days before I do anything with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those are like, all you're going to get better stuff out of them the longer you hold them.
I would love to hold these till Final 3, but like you need a lot of trust in your ability to stay alive in that particular game, and so like if you want to go that route, I don't think it's a bad route, but you have to really try to balance how you're doing and read the scrim well and realize, you have to try to get in that nice middle ground of not being too good or not being too evil.
It's pretty hard to walk that line.
Yeah, but you have to walk the line so the town doesn't want to kill you, but neither does the evil team. And if you can get there, you can hold it for even longer. But I like to say day 3 is my target for stuff like Fisherman, Artist, Slayer.
For sure.
Used it day 2 here because that was the scenario. Also, you were worried you were drunk and didn't think it mattered.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be situational, right? Use it when you think it's necessary. Don't hold it, unnecessarily. If you see an opportunity to Slayer shoot a saint, a soldier, clear something, and you think it's worth doing, go for it.
Yeah.
So let me go. We're gonna go take a little break. We're gonna take jump to the little intermission screen here for a second, and then we'll come back and we'll do another one.
Okay. Can they hear us on the intermission screen, Milk?
Yes, they can hear us on this intermission screen. I need to jump to a different intermission screen. Alrighty, welcome back everybody. So we're gonna jump into scenario number 2 here. This is gonna be Emma's scenario, and Emma, I'm gonna give you a whole bunch of information here.
Okay.
And
Well, it's a Wednesday, which is a great day for that.
that's right. Still Wednesday, a day filled of information. And for you, Emma, in seat 7, it's Washerwoman Wednesday.
Washerwoman Wednesday, that's a fun one.
It's a Washerwoman Wednesday for you, my friend.
Okay.
You're the Washerwoman, and on night 1, you were shown the empath.
Mm-hmm.
And you were shown an empath between seat 11 and seat 6.
Seat 11 and seat 6.
Yep. And on between day 1 and day 2, I'll leave it to your discretion on some level. But between day 1 and day 2, you conferred with both of those players, and you got a hard claim from both of them. The player in seat 11 is claiming to be the empath.
Mm-hmm.
And is apparently your ping, and the player in seat 6 is claiming to be the butler.
Ooh, fun.
Yes.
Am I gonna meta milk that he's gonna try to force me to kill a butler?
Wouldn't you like to know? You've had a number of conversations throughout the game. We're down to final 5. And I'm just gonna walk you through step by step some of the things that have happened. So on day 1, the town executed, in my game as well as your game, the chef in seat 12.
Okay.
The chef is claiming to have a 0.
Chef 0. Love it.
Yep. In seat that night, the demon killed the player in seat 9. The player in seat 9 claimed to be the investigator.
Ooh.
Ooh,
That's super powerful.
Indeed, and the investigator saw a scarlet woman between the player in seat 8 and the player in seat 3.
Ooh, hoo, hoo. This is so. The reason I say that's super powerful is people who die in the night, even though on Trouble Bearing it can be an imp star passing, but people who die in the night, especially early, are very, very likely to be good with good information.
And because of that, town really tunneled in on the players in seat 8 and seat 3. The player in seat 8 has been claiming mayor since the very beginning of the game. The player in seat 3 did not want to divulge their role, but claimed to have an important and useful townsfolk role. Town executed the player in seat 8, who was claiming mayor, on day 3. And in the night, the player in seat 3 died.
Ooh. Fascinating.
So that's something interesting for you to ponder. The following day, the town decided that they had had enough of the player in seat 5 and executed them. They have since claimed to be the soldier.
Okay.
That night, the player in seat 4 died. They claimed to be the Raven Keeper. The next day they wake up and claim to be the Raven Keeper, who looked at you and has confirmed that you are in fact the Washerwoman.
Okay.
The rest of town trusts you. The remaining claim, which I believe is seat 1, is the Saint.
Okay.
Seat 2 is the Fortune Teller. The Fortune Teller is still alive.
Okay.
The Fortune Teller has checked predominantly dead players at this time, but has a yes ping on seat 10 and a yes ping on seat 6.
Okay.
Independent.
Are we in 6 alive?
A yes ping on seat 10 and a yes ping on seat 6 and seat 1. Independent, excuse me.
Okay.
The ping with seat 6 was with your empath. So seat 10 and 11 are a yes, and seat 1 and seat 6 are a yes.
So good. Great. Fortune Teller, yes, is still alive.
Yep. So you're on 6 alive, and I'd like to know a little bit about what you're thinking about the Grim currently.
Did C3 claim at all after they died?
Seat 3 claimed to be the monk.
Oh right, sorry, I missed that. So
No
we
problem.
have Chef 0. And is seat 10 offered any sort of public claim?
Yes. Oh, seat 10 has claimed to be the recluse.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a chef, a saint, and a butler. That suggests Baron or evil faking Baron.
Indeed.
We have a living fortune teller and empath, which is a bit odd. I have not been very persuasive in this game because I would have certainly been trying to kill the fortune teller.
Yeah, nobody's really been listening to you until now because now you're Ravenkeeper confirmed.
Okay.
So now that you're Ravenkeeper confirmed, everybody really wants to know what you think, and the town really wants to push on the people that you think are evil.
Right. The yeses are on the recluse and the empath together.
Correct?
And then the saint and the butler together.
Correct.
Interesting.
What do you think?
The investigator and monk died in the night after we executed the mayor.
Yeah, so the investigator died in the night, then you executed the mayor, then the monk died in the night. The investigator saw Scarlet Woman between the mayor and the monk. Town was pretty convinced that the mayor was the Scarlet Woman. Socially, anyway.
Socially, they think the mayor's the Scarlet Woman. So they think that's good information. They don't think there's a drunk there.
They don't think that the investigator is drunk. But most of town seems to think that you've got a dead evil between seat 8 and seat 3.
Okay.
And you are not the drunk because the Ravenkeeper saw you as the washerwoman.
Yeah. The world where I'm the drunk is specifically, it's a Baron Poisoner game, and the Ravenkeeper was poison killed, allowing the drunk to be seen on me, and because I'm drunk, I was shown a demon bluff between two evils.
Yep.
Which is a world. It's a world we have to consider at this point. It's very weird that neither my washroom confirmation nor me are dead, especially with my washroom confirmation claiming a powerful townsfolk role. Which reminds me, what numbers is the empath reporting?
The empath got a 0 on night 1 and has had consistent zeros since then.
A 0 on night 1 and consistent zeros since then.
Correct.
Sitting next to the recluse.
Sitting next to the recluse.
Interesting. So, from seat 11's perspective, this should be an easy game. The evil team is seat 2 and seat 6.
Yep. Probably seat 6 is the minion there, right? Seat 2 is just pushing on a minion.
Yeah. In seat 8 is the other minion. We can all wrap this up, go home, have some falafel.
I mean, you trust seat 11, right?
No.
Oh.
I do normally trust my information, but a washroom with a consistent 0 on a recluse is very tough to take seriously.
You mean an empath?
Or an empath with a consistent 0 on a recluse is very tough to take seriously. It's not impossible. I want to be very clear with that. It's not impossible in the least that the empath is good and the storyteller is giving them a 0 on a recluse to make them look suspicious. Like, if you're going to washroom in a confirm an empath, you might want to do something else to make them look suspicious.
So something is going on, you think, between seat 11 with the empath information, which you have a washerwoman confirmation on, and seat 10, the recluse claim, who's not being pinged by the empath.
Yeah.
What do you think about the saint in seat 1, who's also in the zeros?
The saint in seat 1, who's also in the zeros. It's a bit odd the empath doesn't want to push on the saint.
Well, the empath thinks that the evil team is, as you said, seat 8, seat 2, and seat 6, right? They're getting zeros. Nobody near them is evil. It's going great.
No,
the recluse is only pinging as good.
I'm assuming, but if you assume the empath is evil, and they're probably either the spy or I got 2 evils because I pinged off the spy somewhere. The fact that an evil player doesn't want to put an empath 1 on either the saint or the recluse is weird.
Well, Emma, I'm going to make it a little bit spicier for you, because I do want to try to give us a little bit of pressure here. So let's simulate a little bit of pressure. The living townsfolk agree to vote for whoever you nominate today.
So the real question is whether you've decided to put me in a situation where I'm reading the butler as evil socially because of the night kills, and because of what's going on with the empath, and you're trying to force me to kill a butler. Milk, are you trying to force me to kill a butler?
I mean, I'm just asking what you think is going on with the butler. What do you think is going on with your information, Emma?
Oh, I think I pinged off a spy.
You think you've pinged off a spy, and how would that work? For the audience at home, what would be a way that you could ping off of a spy?
The spy can register as a townsfolk or an outsider. I think in this particular Grim scenario, it's highly likely either the empath or the butler is the spy. This is a bit of a meta call. It's a bit of a meta call on what makes for an interesting podcast topic, but it's also a meta call on the empath information. The empath information is a bit incoherent. It's not fully incoherent, but it's a bit odd. It's a bit odd they're still alive as a washerwoman confirmed empath, who's apparently locked down the evil team.
Amazingly powerful empath information.
Yeah, and it raises the smell test.
I agree.
Like,
it's quite stinky.
I'm not saying the empath is necessarily evil, and like I said, you should generally trust your information until you have a reason to not trust it. But there's a lot of red flags here telling me not to trust my information. One is, of course, the empath is alive and I'm alive, which is a suggestion that the evil team isn't worried about this confirmation pair for whatever reason, which is wrong. Evil teams should be worried about confirmation pairs. Those should be priority kills, because those are people who aren't the demon unless they're evil together, or a spy, or there's a spy involved, or a poison involved. And who I want to nominate really depends on whether I think it's a spy game or a poison game. I don't think it's a Baron game, and the reason I don't think it's a Baron game is I think probably the Butler and the Empath are both evil, and I think at least one of the Saint and the Recluse are evil because of the Empath information.
All right, that makes some sense to me.
So if it's a Poisoner game, the Butler's probably the demon, because the Butler is sat next to me, and I was probably poisoned to give me the poison to ping on the evil players.
Sounds right.
If it's a spy game, it's a bit trickier. If it's a spy game, if I'm the demon, you can probably guess that I'd probably bluff Butler over Empath, or at least I would have when I was newer at the game and had less established metas with people. At this point, I might have to be forced to bluff Empath just because in groups I play with, it's very suspicious when I claim Butler. For whatever reason.
Nobody knows why.
Know why. I don't know why. Sometimes I'm just the Butler friends. But like, for a lot of players, the demon will feel more comfortable with an empath bluff than a Butler bluff.
Okay.
Which is a meta and a social call.
Why that? Why take a townsfolk role, a powerful information role, over something like a Butler, an outsider role?
Especially with newer players, especially at like conventions and situations where you might run in outside your established play groups, which I think is the more useful thing for this scenario, or for any of the things we talk about in this podcast, because in your established play groups, a lot of these meta calls and mechanical stuff is going to fall flat in the face of, that's what Milk does when he's evil. That's the Sabanite evil tell. Ryan's not doing his Ryan questions and listing the 16 players he thinks are good in a 10-player game and the 2 players who are there for evil.
Yeah.
Like, your social tells are gonna become more prominent.
Everybody has their own tells and reads, you know.
Exactly. And as you play socially with more people, these tells are gonna come predominant over the mechanical and meta calls over bluffs. But in like a convention situation, in like a new player's night situation, in a public server, if you're hosting Clocktower in your community for the first time, you're excited, you want to make these meta calls of demons tend to think that claiming powerful townsfolk roles will make town not want to kill them. They'll want to kill expendable roles instead.
And that works for a couple of days.
Yeah, and there's like a curve. There's a curve of Clocktower where players start on that curve. As you get more experienced, you get more into, you can fall off that, and then there's probably another curve at the end where you get back to sort of, we can just kill expendable roles and see what happens. But, also as you get developed in that end, like, you'll start making your own personal calls of what you want to do. There are some players who will never want to kill someone just to, like, get them confirmed by an Undertaker. They'd rather trust their social reads and if they think someone's good, they're not going to want to kill them to confirm they're Undertaker. They'd rather confirm them by their social reads, which is sort of where I like to play.
And I think you and I
Um,
both kind of agree, especially in the realm of early in games. I don't really want to kill people that want to die. Like people who
yeah,
offer themselves up to die, people who are offering themselves as a sacrifice to town or whatever. Like I'd rather kill somebody who doesn't want to die, even if that means I might kill a powerful information roll or a useful ability. It's just better because evil's not going to be on day one going, hey, kill me, let's get 7-8 votes on me. That's not likely to help the town in the long run.
So, but my meta call is this is not a Baron game. My meta call is that evil is bluffing at least one, probably two outsider rolls to sell a Baron game. My meta call is that I'm either poisoned or saw a spy, and it's probably either a spy Scarlet Woman game or poison or Scarlet Woman.
So that means there's no Baron, which means there's something going on with the outsiders.
Exactly. Which makes me think that the evil team is the empath, the butler, and one of the recluse and the saint. And I'm in a dangerous 3 evil alive situation where there's no real mechanical way to distinguish them from the demon because the fortune teller has a yes on all the possible evils. What I do have to distinguish them again is this meta call that most demons are going to feel safer bluffing empath than bluffing recluse or butler. Saint's a little different, but my meta call here is the evil team is most likely the butler, the empath, and the recluse. And the reason the empath didn't change the number to 1 on the saint is because they are protecting the recluse. My guess is the recluse is the Scarlet Woman, the butler's the spy, and the empath's the imp, and I'm willing to kill them here.
Okay.
So I'm going to nominate the empath.
So you nominate
the player I'm confirming.
You nominate the empath, and town, all of town votes along with you. The saint, the fortune teller, the butler, you, and the recluse all vote on the empath. And the empath says vociferously that they are not the demon, that they are not evil, but with 5 votes, the empath is executed and dies. The following night, the saint dies.
Okay.
And now you're on Final 4. The game continues.
And I have to make another call here.
And the fortune teller is now decidedly thinking that the Raven Keeper was drunk, and that you're evil, you're the demon. They don't know why their information is wrong. There's a poisoner, but basically they just are going down all sorts of random worlds. They're tunneling on you, and they're not being very helpful. And the other 2 players seem to be just happy to let it happen.
Interesting. So the other role we have to consider is that I was sober, the empath was real, and the recluse is the spy. And in that world, fortune teller's the demon, and there's 3 evils alive.
There's definitely something going on with the outsiders.
Yeah, there's no doubt. At least one of these outsiders are evil. My inclination is still they're both evil. The fortune teller tunneling on me all of a sudden seems like a good player in a spiral, more than it seems like an evil player.
Okay.
But I could be wrong there. I really could be wrong.
So it seems like you're down to the same 50-50 that I was on.
Yeah.
So what does town do here? What's a good choice for town when you're in this situation, when you're not sure if there's 3 evils left alive? The 2 outsiders seem happy to go to sleep. The fortune teller doesn't want to go to sleep. The fortune teller wants to push on you.
Wanting to push on me is a bit of a minion play, the fortune teller's part, but it's also a scared good player. I think either way, the fortune teller is not the kill here. The kill is either sleep or kill one of the recluse and the butler. And my inclination is to kill the recluse. But I don't want to be caught in a trap of a meta call where Milk designed the scenario to force me to kill the butler when I don't like killing butlers.
No, I wouldn't set up a scenario to help you to make you kill a butler. I would never
You
do that.
absolutely would do that. That's a meta call on Milk.
Never do that. I don't hate butlers that much, do I?
It's an absolute meta call on Milk.
Sleeper kill, Emma.
I trust the fortune teller. I'm good sleeping. And if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Fortune teller dies in the night. Final 3. Washerwoman, recluse, butler.
That was a solid bluff, Milk.
Pretty good. I think that was pretty good. Thank you very much.
It was a
I
solid
can make
bluff.
a social play.
It was a solid bluff, but I read right through. So
You read right
we're just confirmed on my read that the evil team is the empath, the recluse, and the butler.
Okay.
We just have to decide which one.
It's the 50-50 I had last time, Emma.
It's the 50-50 you had last time, except for in this case, they're both evil. Neither of these players are good.
Okay.
Someone is drunk.
Someone is drunk.
And it's the chef.
It's the chef
Probably.
who's drunk.
No, it's the investigator who's drunk. The chef is sober because it's a spy game. The investigator's drunk because their pings are all good.
Okay.
Because the recluse and the butler are both evil.
So it's at this point I should tell you, Emma, that this is a real scenario that I actually story told for some new players about 2 weeks ago.
That's even more fun.
Yeah. I thought you'd like that. This one's real, more or less. I modified it slightly, but it's basically real. The crux of the problem that you're encountering is real. So we've got a recluse and a butler. You're pretty sure they're both evil. Your empath ping may be evil, who's been putting zeros on a recluse the entire game. A chef with a 0, and a lot of dead people.
The call is, again, it's back to whether this is a spy or a poisoner game. If it's a poisoner game, it's the butler. If it's a spy game, I think it's probably the recluse. And I think the empath is probably the spy. And the recluse is probably the demon.
Your nomination. Nobody else seems interested in nominating.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Neither of these evil players want to nominate. You know what? We've gone through this. I'm going to stick to my moral and social guns, which is Milk isn't doing this to me with a butler. He would want to. He would want to tempt me to think he was doing this to me on a butler. I'm nominating the recluse, and if I'm wrong, I'm fine with it.
You nominate the recluse. I'm sure most of the townsfolk will follow your lead because they all trust you. The recluse is executed and dies. And I'm gonna have to put the grim information in here really quickly, so I kind of have to, like, I can't send it to you without revealing it to the people who are watching. So I'll go through it as I put the information in here, and then send it along to you. Your read on this is very, very strong, Emma. Let's just go around. The chef is the actual chef with a 0. The 0 is correct on this grim. The saint is, in fact, the saint, and was killed in the night because they were a confirmed outsider, of course. The fortune teller was killed because you seem to trust them so much. After the Scarlet Woman in seat 8, let's change this character to Scarlet Woman. After the Scarlet Woman in seat 8, who was seen by the sober investigator in seat 9, died, the demon decided to go ahead and off the monk in seat 3. That was because there was a spy in this game, Emma, and the spy gave the grim to the demon. As we mentioned last week, sometimes you just kill a Raven Keeper and see what happens. And the demon did just that without bothering to poison the Raven Keeper because they had no poison. So the Raven Keeper got to confirm you. The soldier in seat 5 was in fact the soldier, just being a little bit suspicious as soldiers do, which brings us to the butler in seat 6, who was in fact the spy. The spy registered correctly for you as the empath, while the empath, of course, the poor, drunk empath, registered incorrectly for you, the washerwoman. So you got a ping off of a spy, which is exactly what you thought. This, of course, only leaves us with the imp, the one and only imp, sitting in seat 10, and I will send you the grim, my friend.
I mostly got it right.
Yeah, we both mostly got these right. We got the right result in the end, even though some of the logic was a little bit off, right? And that's okay, because sometimes you don't know everything exactly correctly. Sometimes you intuit some things wrong, or you get a piece of the puzzle wrong. But ultimately, I think you kind of had a good sense that there was something wrong with the empath's information, and that makes the recluse look suspicious. You didn't quite catch that they were the drunk, but this was a real situation that I actually had in a new player game where I showed a washerwoman, an empath, who was sitting next to the demon, as their role, as an empath in a ping with a spy, because the empath was drunk sitting next to the demon.
It's a classic trick. I've done it several times.
Yeah.
I ran a game on TPI a few months back where I decided to see what if I made TP a Vortox game where all information was wrong. So part of that was the drunk fortune teller was seen by the washerwoman against the spy, and the fortune teller got yeses on everyone who wasn't the demon.
Yep.
Or their red herring.
Yeah.
Like it's a neat trick you can do is show the spy and the drunk. The spy knows what's up, and that gives the spy freedom to bluff. They know that the other player is going to be confirmed.
Yep. And this is something evil teams probably don't do enough, which is try to fake barren worlds. It's pretty easy to do if you have a spy. In fact, you should probably do it if you have a spy in play and there's no baron in play. But having two evils bluffing as outsider at the same time is very unusual. That's empowered here by the imp getting recluse as a bluff, and the spy getting the grim and knowing that there's no baron in play.
But we saw through it.
But of course we saw through it. So any other thoughts about this one, Emma? I hope this one was interesting enough for you, not too tricky, not too challenging.
No, it was interesting. I did worry that I had gotten it wrong and you had put the imp as this in the butler bluff to mess with me. But, had to make the meta call.
I mean, we both won the 50-50s that we made, too, which is pretty nice, I think. Nice feeling for both of us there.
Yeah. Like I said, if it was a spy game, you had to kill it to C10 and 11.
Of course. Not even a question.
No. The tricky thing here, of course, was I didn't have the legit social read on C8. I just had Milk's description of it. And it's very, I've seen lots of towns assume someone's evil, assume a dead player they've executed is evil, and just be wrong.
Yep.
And my information was pointing me towards C10, 11, and 6 all being off, which was correct. C10, 11 was the drunk. They were just off for a different reason other than being evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which, is something maybe the storyteller could have given them a drunk 1. If they had gotten a drunk 1 on the saint, maybe that helps them look good, which in turn makes the recluse look good.
Yeah, it's possible. But in this case, the storyteller was...
They made the choice, which is a good choice.
Yeah, making a choice.
The choice to protect the demon and give the empath a 0 on them is never going to be wrong.
If you're making the choice to drunk the empath sitting next to the demon, you probably got to stick with it.
Yeah, it was a read I had just on the way the bluffs and the information fell, but not everyone's going to make that read. A lot of the times it'll work out for evil better.
Yeah. So I think we're on an hour and 10, so I think we probably have hit our mark here, Emma.
Yeah, we have hit our mark. Like I said, unlike last time when we lied to you about what we were doing next, this time I'm telling the truth. We're going to do 2 weeks of S&V. Each week will be 1 good, 1 evil. If we start getting Grim submissions for S&V, we may even go through someone else's third Grim and try to limit it to 20 minutes each, but we'll see. We'll talk amongst ourselves about who's doing good and who's doing evil next week.
Yeah, we'll make a choice.
We'll make a choice, and we'll coordinate it in advance, like we clearly do all the time. And didn't just hope on this Wednesday morning, which it definitely is.
It's definitely Wednesday, everybody.
Different characters and different scenario types.
Yeah, just one other little thing. We did create a Grim Scenarios text chat in the Discord. It's down there under with all the other Clocktower stuff. If you do have some thoughts or feedback or ideas, or things you'd like us to look into or want to ask us about, that's not just like a full Grim, feel free to let us know there. You can ping myself or you can ping Emma, and we'll respond. We're kind of active in there. We're looking forward to kind of connecting with everybody and chatting there, since we won't necessarily always be available to chat in the Twitch stream and in the YouTube comments. It's not always the easiest way to communicate with us. But if you have some ideas or you're interested in giving us some thoughts or whatever, we're always happy to hear those. So I think that's wrapped us up pretty well, Emma.
Yeah, and of course, if you have a Grim you want us to go through on Grim Scenarios, DM me on Milk or Milk on Discord with a picture of your Grim, a picture of what you knew at the time you want us to analyze, and a short, like, paragraph-long description of what you were thinking, what you actually did, what you were wondering if you could have done better or different.
Yep. That's the plan for the future, everybody. So I think that's it for episode 2. We've done a whole episode here. This is pretty good.
We have, and we both won. Hooray!
That's right. So everybody, from me and Emma, join us next week for another grim scenario.
Sexy Violets edition.
Bye bye.